Hi everybody, welcome to Technique Tuesday, where each month I offer a principle, aspect, or technique of sea kayaking that has my attention. And what has my attention this month, in fact it's had my attention for a few months but I haven't done anything about it, is replacing the deck lines on the foredeck of my kayak. I thought I'd show you the process, discuss a little bit about deck lines, and show you some of the things that I do, some of the tips and tricks that I do that maybe will help you out. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to start by getting the old deck line off. I am going to preserve the bungee. So in addition to this static deck line, I also have these bungee cords on my deck that I'm going to try to keep. They're in decent shape and I don't really need to replace those. I've replaced them relatively recently. So I'm just looking at the perimeter line today. Now the problem, before I get too far, the problem that I've had with these deck lines is I replaced them a few years ago and I gave myself a little bit of slack when I replaced them. I didn't want them too sloppy, but what's happened over years is they've really dried up and seized up, and I'm having a really hard time, particularly closer to my cockpit, getting my hands underneath my deck line. It's obviously easier when I've got more line between different grommets further forward in the boat, but this is a real problem, not being able to get my hand underneath this. Deck lines are an essential part of a sea kayak. They're actually, in my mind, a defining characteristic of a sea kayak. If your kayak doesn't have deck lines, I'd be really cautious about taking it out on the open ocean. They allow me a place to grab onto if I'm out of my boat, or they allow someone else to grab onto my boat if they're in the water and I need them to hold onto my boat. They also provide a place for us to clip into if we need to tow another person or have a contact line just to keep someone close to us. Deck lines serve that purpose. You want a really solid place to be able to clip into and grab onto. Imagine holding onto this slippery, wet boat in a pitching, bobbing ocean. Very difficult. So deck lines do that for us. Okay, the perimeter line is off and the boat looks a little naked. This would be an awesome time for me to really clean the gel coat on my deck, maybe wax it. Also a good time for repairs if I was doing any gel coat repairs, but I'm not doing any of that right now. I don't have the time for that. Those will be winter jobs. All right, this is the section of the boat that I want to add a kayak bead to. This is a great way to create a little separation between your line and the kayak, particularly if you paddle with gloves. Pay real close attention, friends. If you paddle with gloves, make sure you can do the things you need to do on your boat, grabbing your deck line and even grabbing your spray skirt ejection loop. Make sure you can do what you can do with your gloves. And deck lines or deck beads are one way to help create a little bit of space. So I'm at that section and I'm just going to slide one of these dudes on. I'm going to put one on each side here of this section of the deck. The other thing people do that you can probably see right now as I'm at this section is they add plastic tubing to their deck line to create more of an artificial loop. I've done it here for my paddles. This is an easy way for me to get my end of my paddle into this bungee cord, the shock cord. But people will do this at the front of their boat, closer to their cockpit, and just give a really easy place, an easy handle to grab onto. I don't enjoy having that there. I like to paddle pretty close to the side of my boat and I feel like I bump into them a lot. So personal preference. If you want to do it, it's a common thing and that's where they'd put them. Just cut yourself a piece of tubing and just set it between both deck fittings. Don't repeat the same mistake I made last time by keeping this all too tight. Yeah, great. That's awesome. Cut that guy off. Let's see if I can cauterize him without causing myself a third-degree burn. So far, so good. Yeah, new deck lines with deck beads. I'm working under the assumption that just like the last time I replaced these might tighten up a little bit with a little bit of time. So I did keep them a little long. I suppose if they do stretch out, I can just tie a knot a little bit closer to where I need to. But this is seemingly a little looser than I'd want, but I can easily grab onto my boat. I can easily grab onto the line. All right, well, that's the job done. I didn't mention it, but you could use reflective line to give yourself a little bit more visibility on the water at night. I've thought about it. I've never managed to get reflective line, but if that interests you and you're getting deck line anyway, may as well find some reflective line and give yourself a little bit more visibility. It's a pretty straightforward job. It always seems more daunting than it is, and once you get going, it goes together really quickly. It's a great winter job, except I seem to put off a lot of my winter jobs until the summer. So yeah, I'm doing it now here in a t-shirt instead of my garage in the winter. But do it in the winter and get your boat ready for the spring. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you're enjoying these shorter Technique Tuesday episodes. I'd love to hear about it. Throw it in the comments. That comment space is a rich and growing community, and I'd love to hear your thoughts there. All right, friends. Well, as always, I hope you enjoy your adventures, whatever they are. And until next time, safe paddling. Bye for now.